Hey guys, I have two openings to take on factory partnerships where I'll be your partner on Amazon. You would work directly with me and sell through one of our accounts. If this is of interest to you, please email me directly, danny@sellersessions.com. Also, we're now open to take on more clients for our PPC agency Databrill. You can visit sellersessions.com/agency for more details and also request some of our new case studies. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, turning around your business, some troubleshooting, dealing with ranking or PPC issues, you can book 1-hour consults via sellersessions.com/consultancy. Basically, this is a cost-effective way to troubleshoot your business and get a video recording of the session so you're able to put it into action post-call. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Let's dive straight back in.
I can tell you that the big, huge companies are not lobbying for federal legislation. They want the federal government out of this. They are afraid the federal government will make such a mess of this. They don't want them anywhere near it. So what they predict will happen is 2019 will be the year of marketplace. So, those of you thinking about registering now, again, I can't give you legal advice, but, you're basically signing up for a world of pain if you can't afford to do that kind of work. And you should consider whether or not, as we see more states go marketplace, it's just a matter of time before these states are collecting. Now, there's still other issues, but that being the biggest one, it's just something worth keeping in mind that, it seems like every couple of weeks we hear about another batch of states going marketplace and another and another. And I was a part of a committee a few months back that was with the people who did amnesty. I was invited to participate in their committee on uniform marketplace legislation, which, listen, I didn't love the legislation that they proposed. Doesn't mean any state will use it. It's just sort of a kind of a work group to figure out what are some of the reasons why you would write the law this way versus that way. And, certainly some of our points were well taken. I think we sort of helped them see some things that they didn't really understand very well. But, it's a sign that the states are thinking about this. They realize that if they want the money, they're not going to go after 2 million sellers in China who don't care about tax. They're going to have to get it from Amazon or from eBay or from Walmart. And that's an easy way. And that's kind of why Wayfair to me was kind of a fraud in some respects, because the states had that remedy. They just didn't want to do it because it pisses off Amazon. And it's, like you said, it's the politics of it all. And if anyone doubts how influential and how protective Amazon is about their sales tax, I mean, I know it personally because I know the people at Amazon very well, and it's been well known what they're doing. But read the book by Brad Stone, The Everything Store. And there's a whole chapter on how Amazon goes out of its way and how it sort of flips states from being, states start out as Amazon. Back in the day, Amazon was public enemy number one to all these states, and Amazon basically flipped them into being the world's most desired company. Amazon has 30,000 jobs now in the state of California. You think the state of California has any interest in taking off Amazon? Even the treasurer, even the head of sales tax, who's now the treasurer of California, Fiona Ma, is a good friend of ours, good friend of the sellers. She talks to us, and she's always done what she can to help us. She said on the record, there's an article in Capital and Maine that I was in that featured her, where she even told the story that she told me a while back about how when she went to visit with Amazon, they told her that Amazon would happily collect sales tax or would collect sales tax, depends which version you heard, but the version in the article is Amazon said they would collect sales tax if the governor of California forced them to. Right. And that makes a lot of sense, because if the governor of California says you need to be collecting sales tax and they don't, well, now they're playing chicken with a very big, with a very big company, or a very big state, right? I mean, they're playing chicken in South Carolina right now, but we're talking, that's a rounding error what they could potentially owe South Carolina. You start playing chicken with a couple $1 billion, that becomes a problem. But the funny part is that when she went to the governor of California and said, hey, make them collect, he said no. And she says this on the record in this article, and the writer asked her, well, why do you think the governor didn't want to make Amazon collect? And said, oh, it's because of HQ2. There was like a whole, we can't do anything until that's figured out. And this is the head of sales tax. Like, if you owe back taxes potentially to California, this was one of the people in charge of the division that claims you owe back taxes. And in this article, she even says it's unconscionable that they're going after you guys for back taxes. So, I mean, this should give you a sense of how politically messed up the situation is. and how really you can't rely on software companies to give you the political land, to give you the
Yeah, I
landscape.
mean, let's be honest. I'm not going to name any companies, but if you got someone handling your taxes, they're going to encourage you to register in every state, even if you are filing a zero return, because why?
Absolutely.
That makes more money for them. It's like, sales makes the world go round, and if you have a sales team and you put them in place and they've got bonuses and stuff, of course they're going to be doing more work to make the sale, and the bigger sale the better for them, because that's what they do. They're sales guys, and this is a big money area, so
Absolutely, it's become big. And I'll just really quickly, just to say that point, two really quick points, because I have a law partner who's actually a multi-million-dollar Amazon seller himself. He's like me, did in law school. He's much bigger than I ever was. And he was showing me his Washington State tax bill from a major software company. I can't remember what he paid in total tax, but I realized that in some months he's paying 43 cents to the state of Washington because they had this other tax you're supposed to pay, and even though they collect sales tax. And his total bill for the year from the tax software company was like $500. And like literally in some months he's remitting 43 cents. And he probably should be, or quarters, whatever. It was ridiculous how they had it set up. And then one of those software companies actually had an IPO 2 weeks before Wayfair, and they're a multi-billion-dollar company. So you're right. I mean, that is the thing. But anyway, so I just thought.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a legal action in motion, or a legal case in motion now as of the last few weeks. Do you want to give the audience a bit background on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have action in motion. I mean, I think we had
action.
a legal.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have action in motion. We had a legal case that we had pursued. We had spent so since Wayfair, realizing that now we knew the parameters of what we were dealing with. We knew everything we needed to know. We had all the information, what the Supreme Court's latest viewpoint was. And so we went with it, and we felt really good about it. I mean, a lot of lawyers in my space, a lot of lawyers I respect, a lot of lawyers I looked up to, and taught me the classes when I was first out of law school that would eventually teach me how to do this stuff, right? Told me, they said, this is actually a win for sellers. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but it was deliberately designed not to be a seller case. And the way it came out, there was a lot of carve-outs for us that made it clear we had our case. And there's a lot of ways it could have gone worse, and it didn't. So that was about as best as we could have hoped for, other than a miracle in which they said, but the court, there was no record for the court to do the things that I think people thought could happen. And having a record is important. But anyway, the point is that, having those parameters now, knowing what we need to do, we went through the process and like you said on the website, doing a much more thorough analysis of what are the constitutional law problems, what challenges can we raise, where would we bring it, would we sue in federal court, would we sue states in federal court, would we sue states in state court. We had a pretty good plan going. And then all of a sudden, Amazon announced that they were going to give all of the seller information to California. And then that got us thinking, okay, well, here's an opportunity to really get involved into something that's really on a lot of people's minds. Because if you do look at the situation, only 2 states have really aggressively gone after sellers for back taxes: California and Washington. And I represent a lot of people in both states. And the people I represent in Washington that have gone to appeals hearings and things like that are people that came to me after the fact. I mean, they hired another lawyer, listened to them, or accountant, listened to them, went to a point of no return, and were in an appeals process, and realized that those people really weren't qualified, especially the accountants that they're hiring to defend them, which is mind-boggling to me that people are relying on accountants for legal advice on tax, because I guess they don't realize there's a difference between tax law and tax accounting. One is filling out the forms, the other one is telling you what to put on, it's basically telling you the law behind what goes in the forms, just identify it. But these people were hiring me to get involved at the last minute. But for my clients that hired me before, like at the beginning, before they answer questionnaires, like as much as other accountants like to say, well, if you hire Paul or you hire a lawyer, they're just going to drag you into litigation. I'm the first one to tell them, no, you can't afford it. Yeah. You can't afford to litigate the kind of cases that I used to bring in California, in Lloyd, Mississippi, you name it, right? You cannot afford those kinds of cases. They are very expensive.
Yeah.
And so the goal for me is to keep people out of trouble and not make silly mistakes. And so for those people, they're getting actively pursued by Washington. Washington's mean. Washington's just as nasty as California. The difference is that after Washington had passed their marketplace legislation and after it went into effect, what we saw was, and knock wood, a certain sort of like a lack of interest in pursuing new sellers. So only those sellers that they'd already kind of cast under their net, that have already gone past that point of no return, those are the ones that are still in trouble. Those are the ones that I represent still. Because the department is just gung-ho on making an example of these people. But prior to that, they were wasting their time. They were spending 80% of resources on sellers, and they were getting nothing. And they just, look at the money's coming in, they're feeling good. And so we're not seeing new action by Washington. Sellers aren't coming to me and saying, hey, I just got my first letter from Washington. Now, again, not what. But California, on the other hand, has been nasty, and they haven't changed. And I don't think they intend to change when they pass marketplace legislation, which we'll talk about momentarily, unless we get involved. But before we go there, that's why it was really important to us to focus on California, because only those two states have really been actively going after sellers. If a person tells me that Florida still offers an amnesty program where you only have to pay them a year or two of back taxes, I have my own opinion of that. I don't think that I would advise a client, everyone's different, but I probably wouldn't advise a client to bother. Because, if you want to go and pay Florida 20 grand and comply in order to register, go ahead. I don't know anybody who's been chased down by Florida for back taxes who's registered, but they'll take your money. I wouldn't say that's actively pursuing you for back taxes, but for sellers who really are being actively pursued, really it's California now. And so for us, going to California was a real opportunity. And so what we first thought about was maybe we could file an injunction, maybe we could stop the disclosure. But the threshold of irreparable harm that you need for an injunction to stop something like that, we just didn't think it was there. And given our limited resources as an organization, and we're doing great, and we really do have some money to do some stuff. Obviously, if we had a lot more, we could do some real damage and figure this out a lot faster. But we have enough to do some good stuff. And so we had decided we're going to go after California. And realizing that, if we make an example in California too, that being the most influential state in the country, especially in this space, it's going to have an impact. There's going to be a fallout across the country from California. So what we decided to do was we decided to bring what's called a government waste auction case, which is basically our way of saying, if you're not going to enforce the tax law as written, Amazon will. Yeah. I'm sorry, if you're not going to enforce the tax law as written, we're going to do it for you. And we're going to have a concerned citizen, one citizen of California, bring this case basically saying that the government's not doing their job. It's wasting government resources because there's tax dollars going to waste that should be collected. We're going to tell the government, we're going to tell the court to tell the CDTFA to make Amazon collect. And so we prepared the lawsuit, and before formally filing, we had to give the CDTFA, which is the California Tax Division, reasonable notice of the action so that they had an opportunity to do it themselves. And so we did. And the reason why this made sense too is because if we could get a court to rule in a matter of weeks that the state of California is owed, is losing $1 million a day, every day it doesn't collect sales tax, and every day it doesn't collect that $1 million, it really does lose the opportunity to get it back. It becomes very difficult. They're going to have to pursue Amazon if they want it back, or go after seller. I mean, there's no easy way to do it. They may never get it back, and that, the simplicity of collecting and following the law really removes that irreparable harm. And the fact that there's no end in sight, that this was a perpetual problem. It's been going on for years. This was never going to stop unless we did something. So we had an opportunity to do that. But what ended up happening was we shared a letter with the CDTFA. We sent it to them. We did not send it to Amazon because technically Amazon was not a party in this issue, right? It was just us and the CDTFA saying, like, we're going to tell the court to make you collect sales tax. And the CDTFA has cooperated with Amazon in some ways. In our experience, we found that, Amazon has helped the CDTFA write legal rulings for sellers because we found Amazon data hidden inside the legal documents of the CDTFA, which is really shady. I mean, it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, that's like a 9 shady that you want, basically you shouldn't have people in conflict writing letter rulings or being involved in the process. So finding that data, and when sellers found that data, it was really shocking. But so we know that there's something going on there. So somehow Amazon, we just presume Amazon was told about the letter, whether they saw the letter, whether this copy was given to them. We presume Amazon was told about the letter, especially because a couple weeks later, our law firm was actually disqualified because apparently it seems like a subsidiary of Amazon that wasn't known to be a subsidiary of Amazon had gotten through the conflict checks at a remote office, and that created all sorts of chaos. And as a result, our lawyers who were doing that piece of litigation had to step down, which was crazy. There was nobody else they would have a conflict with, because the CDTFA itself is not somebody that they would have a conflict with. That's who they go up against all the time.
So, excuse my French. So you've had all this fuckery going on at the moment. It's just,
yes,
yeah,
crazy,
yeah,
crazy fuckery. Yeah, I mean it's insanity. I cannot believe how influential Amazon is to this. Like it's almost like everybody at the CDTFA wants a job at Amazon when they get out, when they're done working for the government.
yeah.
Like, I honestly cannot believe how dishonest and unethical the people there are. It's disgusting. And even when they denied Amazon's involvement, they did this sort of cryptic denial that didn't really make any sense. Like, one of the reporters reached out to Amazon, to the CDTFA, and said, did Amazon write that letter ruling? And they said, and explained the presence of that data, and they said it was inadvertent. Well, I don't know how Amazon Fulfillment Services Inc. and subsidiaries like metadata, which is designed to like basically be it's a hidden thing, hidden heading designed to prevent people from like sharing documents and being able to track that it came from Amazon. I don't know how that ends up in a legal letter ruling in the state of California. Like, how does that end up in the template? I mean, what, did they just happen to be working on an Amazon letter ruling right before ours? They deleted all the stuff and they missed the heading. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that was in a legal document sent to sellers by the state of California.
But do you think that's a way of providing a message, if you like? That's like a subliminal shot.
I don't think they knew what they were doing. I mean, the first mistake was they sent it to people in Word. I mean, you have to be an idiot to send people documents in Word and not know that there might be metadata. I mean, I scrub everything before I send it to the government. You always do, because you just don't know. If you're pulling it from another source, you don't want the government to know where it's coming from. Yeah. You want to keep it as clean as possible. So I always check. And it's like, even when I PDF it to Word, I'm paranoid. I mean, PDF, even when I take a Word out of PDF, I get paranoid, because that's like our job. I mean, that's, it's our job to make things clean. And they sent it out to people in Word, and they didn't even, it was the easiest thing. You could even just do a Control F. I found out later. You could just do a Control F on this document, type the word Amazon, and you would notice that it's only visible 5 times, so it was picked up 6 times, right? It was like this basic stuff. And so I really don't think they wanted us to find that, but it was certainly an eye-opening experience to find that. I'm surprised how little anybody cares. I would think that, to me, if somebody, if a government was issuing legal rulings and it turned out somebody in conflict was writing it for them or heavily involved in that, I would be highly concerned. But I think, it's the press. We've had one article that's kind of touched on it, but I don't think they get it. I don't think they care. I don't know. Yeah. But to me, that's a much bigger problem than just tax, and it just shouldn't be happening. But so there's a lot of that effort going on. I can say fucker. I don't know. I mean, you're spot on there, and because of that, we've. But then, shortly thereafter, so we served this notice to the CDTFA on the 3rd of December, and we gave them 10 days. On the 14th of December, all of a sudden, California, out of the blue, introduced marketplace legislation. It's on the table now, California. Right. Why would they do that? Well, what we were trying to do is we were trying to get a ruling that said Amazon needs to be collecting sales tax because that's the law. There's a regulation 1569. If you haven't Googled it, Google tax regulation 1569 California. I'm gonna actually. You're
going to actually Google it live, yeah?
Yeah, you can actually Google it, and I'll actually read it to you because it's only 2 sentences. Okay. Under California's regulation 1569, tax regulation, consigners and lieners of tangible personal property for sale. A person who has possession of property owned by another and also the power to cause title to that property to be transferred to a third person without any further action on the part of its owner, and who exercises such power, is a retailer when the party to whom title is transferred is a consumer. Tax applies to his gross receipts from such a sale. So it's
in English. So break that down for the audience. Obviously, you're a lawyer. You clearly understand it. But basically, what you're saying is that Amazon is liable to collect the tax. We basically operate as a supplier to Amazon.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's right. I mean, Amazon has possession of property. They claim it's owned by you, which is another story. But the property is owned by the FBA seller. Amazon has possession of it. They have the power to transfer title to a third party, the consumer, without any further action on your part. You don't have to do anything. You're not clicking there and clicking approve. It's automatic, right? And they exercise that power is a retailer. That's what the law is saying. I literally just read the law to you and add my comments.
And you know, the bit that Amazon often miss, or people like to sweep under the mat, we're constantly reminded that they're Amazon's customers. Hey guys, that's it from us. Please rejoin us again in a few days' time.